The United States, led by Donald Trump, managed to bring Ukraine and the aggressor Russia to the negotiating table. As expected, the peace process did not lead to serious progress towards peace, since Moscow clearly showed that it does not intend to conduct real negotiations with Ukraine and seeks to achieve maximum goals in its war. Kyiv has repeatedly warned Washington about this, but the Trump administration continues to live in illusions. The United States, which initiated diplomacy, was unable to provide the conditions for its implementation, and the real ability of the White House to bang its fist on the table raises big questions. In an interview with Glavred, Russian political strategist and gallery owner Marat Gelman explained why Trump and Putin are one team today, revealed the Kremlin's future plans against Ukraine, shared his opinion regarding the occupiers' threats to seize the Kharkiv and Sumy regions, and made a forecast about when Putin will be ready for real negotiations with Kiev. At the moment, I see that Putin is planning to continue military offensives. Apparently, he is betting heavily on the summer campaign, and until Putin is convinced that he cannot advance militarily, there will be no real peace talks and results. So now, it seems to me, let these talks be ongoing, but in general, there is no need to pay attention to them. Instead, Europe and America should supply weapons to Ukraine. This is more or less a realistic thing to do, he said. Putin is interested in the military actions being accompanied by hope for their speedy end. With this hope, he will cut off additional sanctions and arms supplies to Ukraine. For Putin, the ideal scenario is for the war to continue in parallel with negotiations, for example, in Istanbul or the Vatican. Prisoner exchanges are possible. They say that Putin and Trump have also agreed on exchanging some prisoners. Ukraine probably cannot stop such a negotiation process, but its main task is to show that these are not real negotiations, but a decorative panel. We need to hold the line until September and thwart the summer offensive. I hope that European countries and America will help Ukraine with this. And in the fall, when Putin's hope of seizing 4 regions by military means runs out, we can talk about peace in earnest, the expert added. He said that Putin hopes for the exhaustion of the Ukrainian army, but Ukraine has already become part of Europe, the countries of which stand next to it. Germany, France, England and Poland stand next to Ukraine. It seems to me that this is a guarantee that Putin will not be allowed to realize his dreams, tasks and the like. When the summer ends, it will be possible to calculate how many meters the Russian army has advanced and what such advancement cost Putin. Based on such calculations, it should become clear that it is impossible to seize the 4 regions by military means, and then the Russian delegation will make so-called compromises. For example, concessions on the demarcation line, and moderate its ambitions regarding the 4 regions, he told.
Philippine officials on Thursday condemned the Chinese Coast Guard, which it said used a water cannon to target one of 2 Philippine fishing boats conducting marine research in the disputed South China Sea. According to Associated Press, the Bureau of Fisheries in Manila said the incident, which took place on Wednesday near one of 3 sandbars called Sandy Cay, caused damage to one of the fishing vessels and endangered its crew members. The Chinese Coast Guard's aggressive interference happened as the 2 Philippine vessels were conducting routine marine scientific research in the barren white sandbars that lie between the Philippine-occupied Thitu Island and a Chinese-built island base called Subi Reef, according to the Department of Agriculture and the Bureau of Fisheries in Manila. Officials said a Filipino scientific team were in Sandy Cay to collect sand samples from the sandbars. A larger Chinese Coast Guard ship water-cannoned and sideswiped one of the vessels twice, resulting in some damage to the latter's port bow and smokestack and putting at risk lives of its civilian personnel on board, the Philippine officials said. They said the incident occurred within the territorial sea of the Philippines, off Thitu Island, which Filipinos call pag-asa, Tagalog for hope. China's Coast Guard blamed the Philippines for the collision, saying the vessels entered the waters illegally without China's permission and landed personnel on Sandy Cay, it said, using the Chinese name Taisien Reef for the sandbars. It said the vessels ignored warnings from the Chinese side and came dangerously close to the Chinese ship, which it said was conducting normal law enforcement operations. The Chinese Coast Guard landed on the reef to check on the activity, a statement said. It did not mention the use of a water cannon. The Philippines' actions seriously violated China's territorial sovereignty and undermined peace and stability in the South China Sea, it said. China has claimed that it has sovereignty rights over virtually the entire South China Sea and has vowed to defend its territories at all costs. The territorial conflicts are also a delicate fault line in the regional rivalry between China and the United States, which lays no claims to the busy sea passage but has backed smaller states like the Philippines as they confront Beijing's growing aggression in the offshore region. U.S. Ambassador to Manila Mary Kay Carlson said the Chinese Coast Guard's aggressive actions against a lawful civilian mission near Sandy Cay recklessly endangered lives and threatened regional stability. We stand with our Philippine allies in support of international law and a free and open Indo-Pacific, Carlson said in a post on X. In January, the Chinese Coast Guard and a naval helicopter drove away a group of Philippines fisheries ships that were attempting to conduct a scientific survey around Sandy Cay.
Chinese Coast Guard mission number 21559. This is MMOB 3002. BRP Dato Sanday, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. A government vessel of the Philippines. Your unsafe maneuvers are in clear violation of your obligations for safe conduct under the 1972 International Regulations for preventing collision of